It's beige, Sarah. Beige. I was vibrating, holding the single sheet of paper between my thumb and forefinger like it was a piece of contaminated cheese. It's not even white or off-white. It's beige. It's the official color of soul-crushing bureaucracy, the color of dentists' office waiting rooms, and sad, unseasoned oatmeal. They've done it, Sarah. The beige visor-wearing fun vampires have finally done it. Sarah, my wife, my partner in all things, except for my very specific brand of suburban rage, didn't even look up from her tablet. Frank, who are fun vampires, and what did they do? Did Brenda report you for non-uniform lawn-mowing patterns again? Worse, I spat, slapping the letter onto the kitchen counter. So much worse. They banned the birds. She finally looked up. They banned birds? Like the entire species? That seems like a God-level jurisdiction, Frank. Not really the HOAs. My birds, Sarah. My birds. The feeder. My one simple joy. It's gone. Let me set the scene. 10 minutes earlier, my life was, if not perfect, at least calmly mediocre. I was on our back patio in my plaid bathrobe, the one Sarah hates, with my sacred first cup of coffee. The morning was cool, the air was crisp, and the avian all-stars, as I called them, were putting on a show. A little squadron of finches was bickering. A plucky chickadee, who I'd named Peck, was doing his usual death-defying aerial maneuvers. And just then, Big Red, the cardinal with the absolute audacity to be that bright, landed on the feeder. It was my zen, my meditation, my one perfect moment before I had to log into a 9-hour-long spreadsheet marathon that I called work. Me, the coffee, and the birds. That's when I saw her. Brenda, my next-door neighbor, my nemesis, the self-appointed overlord of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association, a title she held with the iron-fisted seriousness of a dictator guarding a nuclear arsenal. She was power-walking, of course, her entire body clenched in a symphony of high-impact cardio and low-grade fury. Her gray-streaked hair was pulled into a ponytail so tight it gave me a headache. Her visor, the beige-est of beiges, was so low it was practically a welder's mask. She glares at my feeder. I wave, obnoxiously cheerful, and take a loud, slurping sip of coffee. She doesn't wave back. She just glares. A look of pure, unadulterated, that is not in compliance violation. Then she was gone, power-walking her way to ruin someone else's morning. I didn't think anything of it until the mail arrived. Tucked between a final notice for a credit card I didn't own and a coupon for 2-for-1 plumbing was the envelope. Beige, thick cardstock, embossed with the Willow Creek HOA logo. A wilting willow, how fitting. I ripped it open. And that's where we came in. Listen to this, I said to Sarah, snatching the letter back up. Per Section 8.14a of the Willow Creek Bylaws. Section 814a, Sarah mused. That sounds ominous. It is. All avian-attracting devices, feeders, houses, and/or sanctuaries are hereby prohibited, effective immediately. I read that last part with as much venom as I could muster. Prohibited? It gets worse, due to undesirable secondary pest attraction and non-uniform aesthetics. I was practically shrieking. Non-uniform aesthetics. It's a cedar bird feeder, Sarah. It's not a 10-foot-tall inflatable flamingo. Undesirable secondary pests? She means squirrels. She means Stumpy. Sarah put her tablet down. Who is Stumpy? You know Stumpy. The big one. The one with the tail that's half gone. He's got character. He's a veteran. And he can't even get in the feeder. That's the whole point of the squirrel-proof design I paid $80 for. It's an IQ test he fails daily. It's my other favorite show. He hangs upside down. He does the little shimmy. He gets frustrated and chatters at me. It's hilarious. Sarah sighed. That I am married to a madman sigh. So what? You have to take it down? Effective immediately, I whispered, the words tasting like ash. I did it. I walked out onto the patio, my coffee now cold. Big Red was gone. The finches had scattered. It was just me and the hook. I unhooked the feeder, the one I had so lovingly filled with premium no-mess seed mix. The silence was, well, it was depressing. The backyard was no longer a vibrant avian amphitheater. It was just a lawn, a boring HOA-approved non-uniform aesthetics-free patch of grass. I stored the feeder in the dark corner of the garage, next to the deflated Christmas decorations. It felt like a funeral. I walked back to the patio and slumped into my chair. And that's when I saw him. Stumpy. He was sitting on the top rail of the fence, right where he always sat. He looked at me. He looked at the empty hook. He looked back at me. He let out a single, sharp chitter. I swear he was judging me. "Don't look at me, Stumpy," I muttered, taking a sip of my cold coffee. "The fun police shut us down. The beige monster won." Stumpy just twitched his non-tail and stared. And in that moment, I knew I had failed him. I had failed Big Red. I had failed Peck. But most of all, I had failed myself. The first week was dark. I'm not proud of the man I became in the immediate post-bird feeder ban era. I was a miserable curmudgeon. My morning ritual was ruined. I would sit on the patio with my coffee, staring at that empty, mocking hook. The silence was deafening. My backyard was joyless. I was just a guy, in a bathrobe, staring at a lawn. "Frank, you need a new hobby," Sarah said, sounding genuinely worried. It was day 3, and I was trying to time the intervals between my neighbor's obnoxious lawnmower starting and stopping. "This is my new hobby," I grumbled. "Maybe you could take up bowling," she offered, her voice full of that hopeful, "please don't become a shut-in" tone. "Bowling? Sarah, bowling? What am I, a 1950s factory worker?" "No, I don't want to bowl. I want to watch a cardinal eat a sunflower seed. Is that so much to ask?" "Apparently it is, in Willow Creek." "I tried to get into clouds," I said, pointing up. "Look at that one. It's just a blob. It's not doing anything. It's not even trying. It's just wet. I'm bored." "You are going to drive yourself insane, Frank. And me with you." On day 5, I hit rock bottom. I was on the patio, mournfully eating a handful of very expensive mixed nuts from that fancy tin my mother-in-law sends every Christmas. The Royal Nut Medley. Cashews, almonds, pecans, the good stuff. I was just popping a cashew into my mouth when I felt eyes on me. It was Stumpy. He was back, sitting on the railing, maybe 5 feet away. He chittered, a little "hey you" sound. "What do you want?" I mumbled. "The buffet's closed. The fun police shut down the all-you-can-eat. Blame Brenda." He chittered again, more insistent. He looked at the nuts in my hand. "Oh no. No, you don't. This is my stash, buddy. This is the Royal Medley. This isn't for secondary pests." He just sat there, twitching his nose, his little black eyes full of, well, probably just rodent-y emptiness. But I was projecting. I saw longing. "Ugh, fine," I said. "But don't tell your friends." I tossed him a peanut. He didn't even flinch. He just snatched it out of the air, dropped to all 4s on the railing, and began to crack it open with the ferocious efficiency of a tiny, furry inmate. I watched him. He finished the peanut in about 30 seconds. He looked up. "You're welcome," I said. I looked at the handful of nuts. I picked out a whole, unshelled, perfectly roasted almond. This was the good stuff. "All right, Stumpy, let's see your A game." I tossed it. It was a bad toss, hit the railing and bounced. Stumpy fumbled it, but he recovered, grabbing it with his little hands. He didn't just eat it. He examined it. He turned it over, sniffed it, weighed it. He looked like a tiny, furry sommelier judging a rare vintage. And I started to laugh. "You're a connoisseur, aren't you, Stumpy? A real gourmet. You appreciate the good stuff. Not like Brenda. She wouldn't know a good nut if it… well, you know." Stumpy finally cracked the almond, the crack sound sharp and satisfying in the quiet yard. And that's when it hit me. It was a thought so sudden, so brilliant, so monumentally petty that it was like a lightning bolt of pure, spiteful genius. I looked at Stumpy, who was now happily munching. "She banned avian-attracting devices, Stumpy," I whispered, a slow, dangerous grin spreading across my face. "She said birds." I fumbled for my phone, my heart pounding. I pulled up the HOA bylaws PDF. It was a 200-page document of pure, soul-crushing beigeness. I hit the search button. I typed in squirrel. 0 results. My grin widened. I typed in rodent. 0 results. My hands were shaking. I typed in mammal. 0 results. I looked up from my phone. Stumpy had finished his almond and was washing his face, a look of post-meal bliss. "Sarah?" I called, my voice quiet, almost trembling with the force of my revelation. "Honey?" "What, Frank? Did you finally spot a cloud that looks like a giraffe?" she called from the kitchen. "Sarah, does the HOA have any jurisdiction over gourmet bistros?" I heard her footsteps. She appeared at the sliding glass door, wiping her hands on a towel. "What? Frank, are you drunk on nut rage?" "I'm serious." I was on my feet now. "She banned bird feeders. She didn't say anything about mammal feeders. She didn't say anything about custom-built fine dining establishments. She left a loophole, Sarah. A giant squirrel-sized loophole." "Frank, what are you talking about?" "I'm talking about this." I ran inside, grabbed a notepad and a pen from the junk drawer and ran back out. I slammed them on the patio table. "We're not just putting out nuts, Sarah. We're creating an experience. We're creating a restaurant." I started sketching, my hand flying across the page. It wasn't a feeder. No. It was a structure, an open-air establishment, a tiny cedar-planked bar with tiny bar stools, a tiny roof. "It needs a sign," I mumbled, scribbling. "It needs a name, something classy, something French, to really annoy Brenda." Sarah leaned over my shoulder, reading my frantic scribbles. I could feel her trying to suppress a laugh. "Chez Squeak?" she offered. "No, that's too cutesy. This is a serious establishment. This is Le Glande Têtu." Sarah snorted. "Le Glande Têtu?" "The stubborn acorn," I announced. "It's perfect. It's poetic. It's symbolic." "It's a squirrel pun, Frank. It's a symbolic squirrel pun." I was practically glowing. "This isn't just feeding, Sarah. This is passive aggression elevated to an art form. This is my masterpiece." Sarah just shook her head, a huge smile finally breaking across her face. "You are completely out of your mind." "I know," I cackled. "Isn't it wonderful?" "So, what's the plan, Mr. Proprietor?" "The plan," I said, tapping the pen against the pad. "The plan is, I need to go to the craft store. And then I need to go to the hardware store for building supplies and for nuts. A lot of nuts." I grabbed my keys, a wild energy surging through me. The void was gone, replaced by a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in years. This wasn't about birds anymore. This was about justice. This was about aesthetics. This was about beige. I was a man on a mission of pure, weaponized pettiness. And I had never been happier. My initial enthusiasm, it turns out, was not matched by my skill set. I am a man who works with spreadsheets. I can make a pivot table sing. I can, well, that's about it. My relationship with physical labor is strained. My attempt to build Le Grand Têtu myself was, to put it mildly, a disaster. Spent an entire Saturday in the garage with a pile of premium cedar planks, a bottle of wood glue, and a printout of my increasingly complex blueprints. By 4 p.m., I was covered in sawdust. My thumb was throbbing from a hammer-related incident, and the restaurant looked less like a gourmet bistro and more like a pile of popsicle sticks after a tragic bus accident. The glue was everywhere. The bar top was so uneven you couldn't balance a marble on it, let alone a high-quality almond. "It's rustic, Frank," Sarah said, trying to be kind, which was worse. "It's garbage," I grumbled, plucking a glue-covered splinter from my hair. "It's a structural nightmare. Stumpy would take one look at this and sue me for negligence." I admitted defeat. My spiteful genius had a vision, but it lacked the fine motor skills to execute it. I needed a professional. I needed an artist. I needed Mike. Mike was the contractor who had redone our deck last summer. He was a man of few words, most of which were, "Yep," or "That's not to code." He was all flannel, tool belt, and a quiet, competent energy that I desperately needed. He was also, as I recalled, not a huge fan of the HOA. I made the call. "Mike, Frank here, from the Willow Creek deck job. Yeah, hi. Look, I've got an emergency. It's an outdoor structural issue, a new build. Can you come by?" He agreed, probably picturing a collapsed deck railing or a rogue woodpecker situation. He said he could swing by in the morning. The next day, Mike rolled up in his big Ford truck, took a sip from a thermos the size of a small child, and lumbered into the backyard. "All right, Frank," he said, his eyes scanning the perfectly good deck he had built. "Sarah said it was an emergency deck repair. What's the damage? A loose board?" "No, Mike. The deck is beautiful. A masterpiece, as always. No, it's a new build. A micro build." I led him over to the patio table, where my failed attempt sat in a sad, gluey puddle. "Come here." He looked at the pile of wood. He looked at me. He looked back at the wood. What is this, Frank? Did your kid have a bad day at scout camp?" "It's a prototype," I lied. "And it's a failure. The vision is this." I unrolled my real sketches on the table, the ones I'd spent all night redrawing with a ruler. I had elevations. I had cross-sections. I had ambiance. Mike stared at them. He was silent for a full minute. A long, long minute. He just looked at the tiny, detailed drawings for bar stools, acorn cap-based, and thatched roof, using ornamental grass. Finally, he looked up at me. His expression was one of profound, unadulterated confusion. "Frank," he said, his voice slow, "is this a dollhouse? For gnomes?" It's a Squirrel restaurant, Mike. He just stared. It's a gourmet Squirrel restaurant, I clarified, as if that helped. And I need it to be perfect. I want a cedar bar top, polished to a high sheen. I want a tiny specials chalkboard. I want ambiance, Mike. I want a place a squirrel can go to. You know, get away from it all. Mike put his thermos down. He looked at me. He looked at the perfectly manicured lawn. He looked at Brenda's house, which was, of course, the exact same shade of HOA-approved Taupe Tuesday as every other house. A squirrel restaurant, he repeated. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. A statement of disbelief. My wife says I'm having a small, spite-based breakdown, I offered. She's not wrong, but that's not the point. The point is, the HOA banned my bird feeder. I watched him. I saw the exact moment his brain processed that last piece of information. The HOA. His eyes, which had been confused suddenly, sharpened. A flicker. A memory. The HOA, he said, his voice now a low rumble. The HOA, I confirmed. I knew he remembered. He'd had to resubmit our deck plans 3 times. The first time, because the nails were not the approved finish. The second time, because the stairs were 2 inches wider than regulations. And the third time, because Brenda, who was on the architectural review committee, said his proposed natural cedar stain was too rustic and visually disruptive. He'd been forced to use boring beige. A slow, dangerous smile spread across Mike's face. It was like watching a mountain wake up. She banned the birds, huh? She did, I said. Cited non-uniform aesthetics. Mike cracked his knuckles, a sound like a small branch snapping. All right, he said, all business. Let's talk materials. We're going to want to go with redwood for the main bar, not cedar. Redwood's got a better mouthfeel. Mouthfeel? I asked, overjoyed. They're going to chew on it, Frank. It's inevitable. Let's make it a premium chew. We'll use marine-grade varnish for the polish. Non-toxic, holds up to drool. What's the thatched roof situation? That's going to leak. We need a solid A-frame, maybe with some nice tiny little asphalt shingles. Shingles, Mike? Can we get shingles that small? I can make shingles that small, Frank. Now these bar stools, acorn cap based. I like the thinking. Very farm to table. But they're not stable. We'll get a dowel. I'll turn 'em on my lathe. Make 'em look like little mushrooms. More stable. Better for the patrons. This was the most I'd ever heard Mike talk at one time. He was into this. He was an artist who had been stifled by beige bureaucracy for too long. This was his Sistine Chapel. What's the budget? He asked. There is no budget, I said, with a grandeur I absolutely could not afford. This is about art. Good, Mike said, pulling a tape measure from his belt. Now, what's the load-bearing capacity? How many patrons are we expecting? All of them, Mike, I said, looking out at the yard. A full house. Every night. The next 2 days were a glorious, ridiculous montage of high-end, miniature construction. Mike showed up with a truck full of tools, some of which I was pretty sure he'd had to invent. He used a Dremel tool for the fine edging on the bar top. He used a wood burner to etch the Le Gland Têtu sign, which I had painstakingly redesigned in a fancy, swirly French font. Sarah filmed the whole thing from the kitchen window, giggling. He's using a level, Frank, she whispered, as Mike meticulously ensured the tiny bar was perfectly, scientifically horizontal. A tiny 1-inch level. He's a professional, Sarah, I said, sipping my coffee. He's a craftsman. This isn't some rustic pile of junk. By the end of the second day, it was done. And it was beautiful. It was the most beautiful, ridiculous, over-engineered, and profoundly stupid thing I had ever seen in my life. It was a perfect, 18-inch wide, open-air bistro, complete with a polished redwood bar, 4 mushroom-shaped bar stools, a shingled A-frame roof, and the custom burned sign. Mike had even used the Dremel to carve faux wood grain into the supports. "Well," Mike said, stepping back, wiping his hands on his flannel shirt. He had a small, proud smile on his face. It's a masterpiece, Mike," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "It's everything." "Yeah," he said. "It's not to code, but I don't think they have a code for this. That's the entire point." I paid him. I paid him well. He just nodded, packed up his tools, and got back in his truck. "Frank," he said, before he closed the door. "Yeah, Mike? You're gonna want to bolt it down, to the railing. Use these." He handed me 2 heavy-duty stainless steel bolts. "So the clientele don't knock it over. And so Brenda can't just, walk off with it." He was a genius. An absolute flannel-clad genius. That night, under the cover of darkness, I bolted my tiny, spite-filled restaurant to the deck railing. It was sturdy. It was beautiful. It was open for business. The grand opening was scheduled for 8 a.m. the next morning. I was too excited to sleep. I was up at 6, just as the sun was starting to hit the backyard. I put on my formal attire for the occasion, my tuxedo t-shirt, the one with the poorly screen-printed-on bow tie. Sarah, bless her, got up with me, her phone in hand to document the launch. "You're shaking, Frank," she said, as I fumbled with the grand opening supplies. It's the nerves," I said. "It's opening night. What if no one comes? What if they hate it? What if my nut selection is gauche?" "I'm sure your nut selection is fine, you lunatic. What's on the, menu?" "Ah," I said, "the menu du jour." I had prepared a small, plastic laminated menu the night before, which I now carefully propped up against one of the bar's support beams. It was, of course, entirely for my own benefit, but ambiance is key. Le Gland Têtu. Propriétaire, F. Miller. Menu du jour. Amuse-bouche, a deconstructed sunflower seed medley, served lightly scattered. Entrée, a single high quality. Unshelled peanut, served in shell, for maximum patron engagement. Dessert, a smear of organic sugar-free peanut butter, presented on our bark du jour. "Bark du jour?" Sarah asked, raising an eyebrow. "It's a piece of bark, Sarah, from the journey. It's rustic." Got it. With the flourish of a Michelin star chef, I plated the dishes. I artfully scattered the sunflower seeds on the ground around the bistro. This was the tasting menu for the floor-level patrons. I placed a single, perfect peanut on the bar, right in the center. Then I took a small, clean piece of oak bark, applied a perfect smear of peanut butter, and set it on the bar like it was a tiny, nutty crème brûlée. "Et voilà," I whispered. Then we waited. I sat in my patio chair, coffee in hand, this time hot, vibrating with anticipation. Sarah stood by the sliding door, phone aimed, ready to capture the magic. 10 minutes passed. Nothing. Maybe they're sleeping in? I whispered. Maybe your non-uniform bark is scaring them off, Frank. Shh, you'll ruin the atmosphere. And then, a twitch of movement on the fence, a flash of gray. It was Stumpy. He landed on the deck railing 10 feet away. He froze. He saw it. He twitched his nose. He took a cautious step, then another. He was clearly confused. This was new. This wasn't the ugly, failed pile of wood. This was architecture. Come on, Stumpy, I breathed. Come on, buddy. First one's on the house. He crept closer. He sniffed one of the support beams. He put a tiny paw on the floor of the bistro. He sniffed the peanut. He looked around, as if expecting a trap. And then the magic happened. He didn't just grab the nut. He climbed onto a bar stool. He settled his little half-tailed rump on the mushroom-shaped seat, grabbed the peanut with both hands, and, sitting upright like a tiny, furry businessman, he began to eat. I gasped. Sarah gasped. "Oh my God," Sarah whispered. "He's using the bar stool. He's a patron." "I know!" I was so proud I could have burst. Stumpy finished his peanut, licked his paws, and then he hopped over to the peanut butter. He gave it a sniff. He gave it a lick. His eyes widened, or at least I imagined they did. He went to town on that peanut butter smear. He was my first customer, and he was a satisfied one. He was also, apparently, a talker, because within an hour, Le Gland Têtu was the hottest spot in town. First, not Stumpy, a fatter, much less polite squirrel, showed up. Then, Stumpy's girlfriend, a sleek, nervous-looking one. Then, the twins, two identical, hyperactive delinquents. It was chaos. Glorious, nutty chaos. They were fighting over the bar stools. They were chittering. Not Stumpy tried to steal Stumpy's girlfriend's peanut, and a brawl broke out. They fell off the bar, rolled across the deck, and then ran up the fence, still chattering insults at each other. "It's a success!" I yelled, running inside to get more peanuts. "We're a hit! We're gonna need a bouncer!" "It's a rodent fight club, Frank!" Sarah was crying. She was laughing so hard. "It's a bustling, high-energy bistro," I corrected, scooping peanuts into a bowl. I ran back out, refilling the bar, and that's when I heard it. The sound that instantly curdled my newfound joy. "Frank!" The voice was sharp. It was nasal. It was Brenda. She was standing on her own deck, in her bathrobe, a sensible, beige, quilted number, of course, her arms crossed. Her face, even from 30 feet away, was a delightful shade of crimson that clashed horribly with her visor. "Frank! What is that?" This was it. Showtime. I put on my most welcoming professional proprietor smile. "Brenda, good morning. Welcome to Le Gland Têtu." I gestured grandly to the tiny, chaotic, squirrel-filled structure. "We're in our soft opening phase, so the kitchen is a little slammed," I called out, my voice dripping with fake hospitality. "But I might be able to find you a spot at the bar. Stumpy, move your tail." She stormed off her deck and marched across the 10 feet of non-uniform grass that separated our properties. She stopped at the edge of my patio, her eyes wide with horrified disbelief. You can't," she sputtered. This is a violation." "A violation of what, Brenda? The laws of good taste? I think it's adorable. And the patrons seem to love it." It's attracting vermin. I put a hand to my heart, feigning deep personal offense. Whoa, these are my patrons, my clientele. And I'll have you know I've already read the bylaws. Twice, actually. Show me the section, Brenda. Show me where it says no gourmet squirrel bistros. She was actually sputtering now, little flecks of spittle flying from her lips. She fumbled in her bathrobe pocket and pulled out, of course she did, a pocket-sized laminated copy of the HOA bylaws. She was flipping through it, her fingers clumsy with rage. It's non-uniform, she finally shrieked, landing on her favorite word. Non-uniform, I said, leaning against my patio table. Brenda, this is a custom-built artisan structure. It's bespoke. It's rustic chic. It's farmhouse to table. It adds character. Something this neighborhood, no offense, is desperately lacking. This is just a feeder, she screamed. A feeder, I scoffed. Does a feeder have custom-lathed bar stools, Brenda? Does a feeder have a hand-burned sign in a French-style font? Does a feeder have ambiance? No. This is an establishment. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to refill the peanut butter smear. We're getting slammed. Brenda's face went from red to a sort of pale, blotchy purple. It was not a healthy color. You will be hearing from the board. Frank! She shrieked, her voice cracking. This is not over! She spun on her sensible, orthopedic heel and power-walked back to her house, slamming her patio door so hard I thought the glass would break. I just smiled, picked up a fresh peanut and placed it on the bar. Another round for the house, I said to Stumpy. He chittered his thanks. My victory over Brenda was brief. Delicious, but brief. I had won the battle, but I had severely underestimated the war. Brenda, it turned out, was not just an overlord. She was a general, and she was about to go nuclear. A few days later, just as Le Grand Têtu was hitting its mid-morning rush, Stumpy and the twins were having a rather heated debate over a pecan. I saw a police cruiser pull up. Not just pull up. It pulled up directly in front of my house. My heart did a little thump. This was a level of escalation I had not anticipated. 2 officers got out. One was older, with a mustache that had seen better decades, and an aura of, I am so tired of this suburb, that radiated off him in waves. The other was a rookie, young, bright-eyed, and clearly confused. The older one, whose name tag read Henderson, trudged up my driveway, his partner in tow. I met them on the front lawn. Morning, officers, I said, trying to sound as non-criminal mastermind as possible. Henderson just sighed, a deep existential sigh. He looked at his notepad. Are you Frank Miller? That's me. Is there a problem? Sir, we got a call. Public nuisance complaint. He looked at his notes again, his brow furrowed. And excessive noise? He looked at my quiet, boring house. He looked at me, a 40-something man in cargo shorts. And, sir, I'm just reading what's on the report. A possible illegal rodent fight club? I had to bite the inside of my cheek to keep from laughing. Rodent fight club, officer? The rookie perked up. Is that, like, a real thing? No, I said. No, it's a bistro, in the back. It's for squirrels. Henderson's mustache twitched. He looked at me for a long, hard second. A bistro for squirrels. Yes. My HOA banned my bird feeder. That's all I had to say. Like Mike, Officer Henderson's entire demeanor changed. The tired cop look was replaced by a look of profound understanding. "Ah," he said. "The HOA." He looked over his shoulder at Brenda's house. She was, of course, peeking through her blinds. Let's go see the Fight Club, Mr. Miller." I led them through the side gate into the backyard. Le Grand Têtu was in full swing. Stumpy was at the bar, and the twins were chasing each other up the fence. The rookie gasped. "Dude," the rookie whispered to Henderson. He built a tiny bar with bar stools." "I see that, rookie," Henderson said, his voice deadpan. "My contractor, Mike, did the work," I said proudly. "It's redwood, good mouthfeel." Henderson rubbed his temples. "Sir, the complainant says they're a nuisance, and loud." I pointed to Stumpy, who was quietly nibbling an almond. "Does that look like a nuisance to you, officer? Or does it look like a valued member of the community enjoying a locally sourced nut? As for the noise, well, it's 2-for-1 Walnut Wednesday. They get excited. It's a tough crowd." The rookie was now filming it on his phone. "This is the best call ever," he was muttering. Henderson sighed again. "Just try to keep the walnuts down, sir." He turned to go. "And ma'am," he called out, loud enough for Brenda to hear through her closed window, "this is not a 911 level event. Stop calling us." He gave me a curt nod, which I interpreted as, "I'm on your side, but I can't say it," and left. I was emboldened. Brenda had used the cops? I'd use ambiance. That weekend, I went to the hardware store. I came back and installed a Phase 2 expansion. I wasn't just defiant, I was upgrading. I installed a tiny solar-powered LED string light setup over the bar for evening dining hours. The lights were multicolored, festive. I also added a champagne-style water feature, which was really just an inverted hamster bottle with a tiny brass bowl, but it looked classy. Le Grand Têtu was now a bistro and nightclub. Brenda's head just about exploded. 2 days later, a new envelope was tacked to my front door. This one wasn't beige, it was green, a sickly, passive-aggressive, "We are disappointed in you" green. "Oh, she's color-coding her rage," I said to Sarah. That's commitment." I opened it. It was a new official violation notice. "Violation, unapproved landscaping structure," I read. Per Section 12.4, all external structures, including but not limited to decks, sheds, gazebos, pergolas, and miniature dining establishments, must be pre-approved by the Architectural Review Committee. "Miniature dining establishments?" Sarah snorted. She actually wrote that? She did. I was impressed. She's adapting. She's learning. She's amending the bylaws just for me. A fine of $200 was pending approval at the next board meeting. In the meantime, I was ordered to submit a full architectural review packet for Le Grand Têtu. "Oh, she wants a packet?" I said, a slow, evil smile spreading across my face. "She's gonna get a packet." I spent the next 2 nights creating the most absurd, over-the-top, professional-looking architectural review packet in the history of HOAs. I used Sarah's high-end graphic design software. I included a cover page with a high-resolution, dramatic, black-and-white photo I'd taken of Stumpy at the bar. I'd titled it "Patron in Repose." An artist's statement about how Le Gland Têtu explores the symbiotic relationship between man and nature, blurring the lines between the civilized and the wild suburban space. Full schematics, which I got Mike to email me, complete with precise measurements. Materials list: sustainably sourced redwood, artisan-grade epoxy, non-toxic marine varnish, stainless steel, non-rusting hardware, passion, dreams. An environmental impact report, 100% positive, provides crucial sustenance to at-risk local populations, e.g. Stumpy, solar-powered, carbon-neutral. The 20-page application form, I filled out every single line. Dimensions, 18, W x 12, D x 10, H. Color scheme, earthy, redwood, black shingles. Intended purpose, joy, and nuts. I printed it on heavy, glossy cardstock, bound it at an office supply store, and mailed it to the HOA, Attention Architectural Review Committee, see Uzo Brenda. This, I assumed, would be the end of it. She couldn't possibly fight this level of professional, weaponized bureaucracy. I was wrong. She didn't fight back with paperwork. She went public. The next Willow Creek HOA monthly newsletter arrived in my mailbox. The front page story, usually about Lawn of the Month or pool filter safety, was different. The headline, a friendly reminder, feeding wildlife is dangerous and deadly. Oh my God, Sarah read over my shoulder. The article, written by a concerned homeowner, I wonder who, was a masterpiece of fear-mongering. It started with a hypothetical about a well-meaning but irresponsible neighbor. It then quickly devolved into a full-blown medical horror story. It mentioned hantavirus. It mentioned rabies. It mentioned bubonic plague. Bubonic plague. She thinks I'm going to start the plague with almonds. I was outraged. Frank, Sarah said, pointing. Look at the photo. Tucked beside the article was a blurry, grainy, black and white photo of a squirrel. It was zoomed in so close the squirrel looked like a monster. Its mouth was open, its teeth bared. It looked rabid. "That's Stumpy!" I yelled. She slandered Stumpy. He's not rabid. He was yawning. I saw him yawn. It was cute. This was too much. She'd called the cops. She'd find me. But slandering Stumpy? This was personal. She wants to go public, Frank? Sarah said, her eyes narrowing. She had finally, fully joined the dark side with me. Let's go public. What are you thinking? I'm thinking, the video I took of Stumpy using the bar stool is really, really cute. And I'm thinking, the local news human interest story inbox is probably very empty. Sarah, I love you. She sent the email. It had the video. It had a link to my architectural review packet. The subject line was, HOA bans bird feeder. Man opens gourmet squirrel restaurant in protest. They called us back in 10 minutes. The next day, a shiny blue news van pulled up. Not in front of my house. In front of Brenda's house, blocking her driveway. A perky, impossibly toothed reporter named Tiffany got out, followed by a cameraman. Mr. Miller? She chirped, marching up to me. I was, of course, wearing my tuxedo t-shirt. Tiffany Chung, Channel 8 News. We love this story. Well, Tiffany, I said. I'm just a simple man trying to make a difference in the local squirrel community. I love that, she said. Can we see it? For the next hour, we were a full-blown media production. The cameraman got low-angle, hero shots of Le Gland Têtu. He got close-ups of Stumpy, who was a total camera hog, eating a pecan. And then they interviewed me, on my deck, with the bistro in the background. So, Frank, Tiffany said, the microphone in my face, what inspired you to open this unique eatery? I looked dead into the camera. I took a deep breath. This was for Stumpy. Well, Tiffany, I just saw a gap in the market. The squirrel community here in Willow Creek was just starving for a high-quality, locally sourced dining experience. We're farm to table. Well, bird feeder to table, technically. These aren't pests, Tiffany. They're patrons. They're clients, and they deserve the best. And the HOA? They're not happy? They have concerns, I said, with the diplomatic grace of a UN ambassador. But I've submitted my architectural packet, and I'm confident we can work together to ensure Le Gland Têtu meets all community standards, while still providing a 5-star experience for my, nuttier clientele. The cameraman panned over to Brenda's house. And there she was. The perfect shot. She was peeking through her beige blinds, her face a mask of pure, unadulterated, I am on the 5 p.m. news for all the wrong reasons. Horror. Check. And, mate, the Squirrel Gate segment, as Tiffany called it, aired at 5 p.m., and 6 p.m., and again at 11 p.m. By the next morning, my architectural review packet was being passed around on local blogs as the most passive-aggressive takedown of an HOA ever. Brenda, to put it lightly, was not pleased. An email went out, Emergency HOA Board Meeting, to discuss unapproved structures and bylaw violations. It was scheduled for Thursday night, in the community room. This was it. The final showdown. The battle for Le Gland Têtu. I walked in with Sarah at 7 p.m. on the dot. I was in a suit. I felt if I was going to be a proprietor, I should look the part. Sarah, my rock, just squeezed my hand. The community room, a sad Greiga box with fluorescent lighting and stained carpet, was packed. I'm talking standing room only. Usually these meetings were just Brenda, the 3 other board members, all of whom looked permanently exhausted, and maybe one angry homeowner complaining about sprinklers. Not tonight. Tonight, it was the Super Bowl of HOAs. The local news had apparently put blood in the water, and everyone wanted to see the shark. I saw Officer Henderson's rookie partner in the back, not in uniform, just watching. He gave me a tiny, supportive nod. Brenda was at the front, next to a projector. She was dressed in a beige pantsuit. She looked vibrant with rage. The 4 board members were at a long, folding table, looking like they'd rather be anywhere else on Earth. "The meeting will come to order," Brenda snapped, banging a tiny gavel. She launched into her presentation. Oh yes, she had a PowerPoint. It was titled, in all caps, blood red, Comic Sans, The Rodent Scourge, A Community in Crisis. She used Comic Sans, I whispered to Sarah. It's a war crime. Shh, Frank. Pay attention. She's slandering your clients. It was a masterpiece of insanity. It featured blurry, red-circled photos of squirrels on roofs, a photo of a trash can that had been, allegedly, knocked over by vermin. A pie chart, showing the exponential growth of the pest population, which was just a circle with a huge red 90% slice labeled Frank's Squirrels. And as you can see from this medical diagram, she said, clicking to a slide of a plague-infected something, these creatures are vectors for hantavirus, for typhus, and for the bubonic plague. Someone in the back coughed. Plague? Seriously? This is not a joke, Brenda snapped. This establishment, she said the word like it was a curse, is a clear and present danger to our property values, our health, and our aesthetics. I demand the board immediately fine Mr. Miller $500 for the initial violation, plus $50 per day for non-compliance. And I demand the structure be removed by 8 a.m. tomorrow. She finished, her chest heaving. The room was silent. The board members looked at their notes. Mr. Miller? The board president, a tired-looking man named Gary, said, "Do you have a response?" This was it. I stood up. I walked to the front. I had no notes. I had no PowerPoint. I just had the spite. I turned to the packed room. "Hi, everyone. I'm Frank. You know, the rodent scourge guy." A few people chuckled. "Brenda, that was a PowerPoint. A lot of red circles, a lot of plague, very medieval." Brenda's face went crimson. "Look," I continued, "I'm gonna be honest. This whole insane plague-filled thing, it started because Brenda and the board banned my bird feeder." A murmur went through the crowd. I recognized that murmur. It was the murmur of, "They did what?" It was the murmur of, "I hate that rule." "It was a bird feeder," I said, letting my voice get quiet. "It made me happy. It was a cedar box. Big Red the Cardinal liked it, but Brenda said it attracted pests. She said it was non-uniform. So I decided, fine. If I'm going to be accused of attracting pests, I'll lean in. I'll serve the pests, and I'll give them the best damn service this neighborhood has ever seen." The room was mine. Even the rookie cop was grinning. "Is it ridiculous?" I said, my voice rising. "Yes. Is it a tiny, custom-built gourmet restaurant for squirrels? Absolutely. But is it hurting anyone? Is it a community in crisis?" I pointed to the back. "Mr. Gable, you were complaining last month that no one in this neighborhood even talks to each other. Well, we're all here now, aren't we? And look at the local news. Look at the internet. For the first time ever, this neighborhood is famous for something other than the color Griga. We're the Squirrel Bistro neighborhood. People think it's charming. People think it's funny. My contractor, Mike, he said it's the best work he's ever done." I turned to the board. "Don't fine me. Don't make me tear it down. It's just a little bit of joy. In a world full of, well, beige. Let us have this one weird, wonderful, stupid thing." I was done. I sat down. The room was silent. Then Mr. Gable, an old guy in the back, stood up. I like it," he said, his voice quavering. "My grandkids, they live in the city. They saw it on the TV. They came by just to see it. It's the first time they've visited in months. They love the little bar." That almost made me cry. Gary, the board president, looked at Brenda. He looked at the room. He looked at his fellow board members. He sighed. "All right, a motion is on the floor to fine Mr. Miller and order removal. All in favor?" Brenda's hand shot up, and stayed up. Alone. The 3 other board members just looked at their notes. All opposed? Gary asked. The 3 board members raised their hands. The entire room erupted in applause. Gary banged the gavel. The motion fails. Meeting adjourned. Brenda was left at the podium, her PowerPoint still glowing with the word plague behind her, her face a mask of pure, sputtering defeat. I had won. The aftermath was beautiful. Le Gland Têtu was now officially on the books. We had to compromise, of course. It couldn't technically be a restaurant. We had to file it under a new form. It is now, and forever will be, known in the Willow Creek HOA bylaws as an artisan garden sculpture. That's right. It's art. It's more than art. It's a landmark, a must-see destination. People I've never met from 2 streets over bring their kids by on walks. There it is, honey. That's the little bar. I, of course, couldn't just leave well enough alone. A week after the meeting, I expanded the brand. I installed a valet area, which is just a small, strategically placed branch for, parking. I also added a takeout window, a small platform on the side of the bar for the patrons on the go. Business is, as they say, booming. Mike, the contractor, even stopped by last week. He didn't say anything. He just walked onto the deck, took out a tiny hand-carved restrooms sign with a tiny carved squirrel on it, and nailed it to the side of the bistro. He gave me a nod, I gave him a nod, and he left. A true artist. This morning, I'm on my deck. My coffee is hot, my robe is plaid. Le Gland Têtu is a hive of activity. Stumpy is at his usual bar stool. The birds have even returned. Big Red and Peck have figured out that the squirrels are messy eaters. They hang out on the deck, dining on the spillage. I call it the tasting menu for the floor-level patrons. It's perfect. It's a multi-species, fine dining ecosystem. Sarah sits down next to me, handing me a fresh-baked muffin. You know, you're a local hero, Frank, she says, kissing my cheek. The nutty proprietor of Willow Creek, the scourge of Brenda. I'm just a simple man, Sarah, I say, taking a bite. A simple man trying to provide for his smaller, furrier clientele. I lean back, content. I won. The war is over. I have my joy. That's when I see it. Tacked to my fence post. A small, beige envelope. My blood runs cold. I walk over, my heart thumping. I pull it off. I open it. Dear Mr. Miller, I read aloud. Per HOA bylaw 14.7c, all artisan garden sculptures must be illuminated by white light only. Your multicolored festive solar lights are in violation. You have 24 hours to comply. I look at the tiny, beautiful, multicolored LED string lights. I look over at Brenda's house. She's in her window, watching, waiting. I feel a slow, familiar, beautiful smile spread across my face. She just doesn't learn. I walk back to Sarah, a new, wonderful energy surging through me. Honey? Oh no, Frank, what? Call Mike. Tell him Le Gland Têtu is getting a patio extension, and I'm gonna need a much, much bigger string of lights.